Hi folks, I'm Greg Adamore, your host for Experts in Southern Nevada. And today we have a great show prepared for you. We've got a land expert that I've known for about 35 years, born and raised in Las Vegas. He knows the land business. And it's Dave Mason from Five Star Realty. And Dave, it's a pleasure. I've been trying to get you on the show for a long time. You've been so busy with the auctions. Thanks for coming with us today.
Hey,
I know
thanks
you've been
for
working
inviting
all
me
day.
on over.
You went to the BLM auction this morning, and
Oh, that was such fun this morning.
Yeah.
It was quite interesting. We had quite a good turnout. Saw a lot of people that haven't seen in a while. The BLM auctions are starting to really take over again. There was a dozen parcels that came up for sale in the southwest end of town, most of them in a little rural preservation area. There's also a few larger parcels that brought in some developers, and things went pretty well. There was a couple parcels that didn't get any bids, and some other parcels that the bidding was quite exciting.
oh yeah, in Nevada, I believe it's somewhat 80%, 85% is owned by the government. So
Oh, I think it's closer to like 90 something.
so
actually.
the
Yeah.
BLM needs to release some of this land once in a while, so
Right.
we don't get root bound and we can continue progress and growth.
Well, what they did is back in the 90s, I believe it was, they did the Southern Nevada Land Purchase Act, I believe it was. It was an actual act of Congress. That's the only way that the United States can sell off their land. And what happens is an individual, pretty much anyone, can go out and identify a parcel of BLM land that they would like for, to put up for auction. And it's an actual auction process. That way they start off, you identify the property, and then the BLM will put an associate onto it. They will figure out the fair market value of it, because we don't want to just give away the public lands just to anybody that asks for it. And so they come up with a fair market value, and that's where the bidding starts.
Oh, I see.
And, yep.
So it's good that you attend these, and a lot of people are not aware of them. I found out last night when we were talking that you're having it, and so I thought that would be a very keen subject to talk about. Because Las Vegas wanting to grow, we need the BLM properties. And you also mentioned R&P, that's rural preservation?
Yeah, it's a rural neighborhood preservation, and what happened is back around 98 or so, in some of the outlying areas of town, people that wanted to live out in the outskirts and have a little bit of land to build their house on, starting at basically a half acre as a minimum lot size. And most of the lots go around 2.5 acres. Some of them are broken down to the acre and a quarters, but this will give people enough area to have horses. There's horse trails that are usually a part of the rural neighborhood preservation areas. We have a local group that was basically just a bunch of neighbors that got together, called the Southwest Action Network. We call it SWAN. As we noticed all the developers coming into the outlying areas, and you'd have your house on a half acre or larger, and the developers would want to come in and put as many homes in as they could per acre, so you'd have 10, 12, 14 houses per acre. And you really don't want to have that next door to somebody with horses. And so we created these rural neighborhood preservation areas. As a matter of fact, here I have a little map right here kind of identifying. Let me grab this. Yeah, we have a little map, and basically we're just kind of outlined areas, and we went around when we were first forming these areas, and we asked the neighbors, the actual people that own the property, is this something you would like or not?
Right.
And we had people that said yes, we want to keep the horse areas, we want to have our space. And then of course there was other areas where it was primarily investors, and nope, we want to make as much money as we can per square foot.
Right.
And so by keeping everybody's interest in mind, that's how we arrived at these rural neighborhood preservation areas. And county commissioners were very nice and helped us get these things on. And that way it keeps all the high density stuff away, and it also lets the developers know, don't even bother trying to get the higher density zoning, because you're going to be fought. And so it works well for both developers and the homeowners.
Yeah, we build sort of a harmony between progress and controlled growth.
Exactly, and that's it. And we've kind of laid out these areas primarily in the southwest. In the south areas of town, there's a few R&Ps there. And that basically lets people know that when you buy a large parcel of land for your home, you're not going to have something that you don't want right next door.
Right, right. And I think that was one of the issues that in the 90s when we had this unbridled growth that it kept growing and growing, that people were unhappy with the horse properties. You know,
Right.
they having like high density zoning coming in,
Oh,
and
yeah.
shopping centers and traffic upsetting
Right.
the peace and the sanctuary of those neighborhoods.
Well, and also you have people that, you know, they don't want to have horses. And if you have, you know, you work hard every day and you get home and the last thing you want to do is go outside and work in the yard some more. So, you know, there's something for everyone basically. And, you know, those people, they don't want to have a horse right next door to them because
Yeah, when we talk about the rural preservation area, is some of that still along Las Vegas Boulevard to the west of the Interstate Freeway, which I think
Oh,
is
yeah.
close to, you know,
yeah.
a main freeway,
Oh, yeah.
interstate. So it seems kind of interesting that it's right there because it's so close into the
and
pathway
yet
of progress, but
and
still.
back when a lot of those people built their homes back in the 70s and 80s, that was way out of town. And you know, basically it's just preserving their way of life. Like you say, on the south end of town, on the west side, there's a lot of older homes that have been out there, and also a lot of people are building their newer homes. And there's some real nice, beautiful homes going up. And the reason that's a nice area is it now has access to the freeways and everything else. And so this way you can have your piece of country and still only be 10, 15 minutes from town.
Yeah, so it's got the conveniences, but still the comforts of the country, so
yeah.
to speak.
Oh,
It's a
yeah.
beautiful thing. I know that we've been friends, and I know you've been a real estate broker, 35 years, and you
Yeah,
stuck
about
with
that.
it. And
Oh, yeah.
my hat's off to you because I know the market's been up and down the last 5, 10 years, and representing home builders and
yeah.
both commercial pieces and residential. But I know you know the area real well, so that's why I wanted to have you on the show. You're probably the
thank you.
foremost land expert that I know, and maybe 5 people on my that I can count on my hand that have been doing it as long and
That have
successfully
been
as
around that
yourself.
long.
That's right.
Yes, indeed.
And where you live, one of my favorite areas up near Rhodes Ranch and in the
Right.
south end of Blue Diamond, you've got right where Mountain's Edge is developed,
Yeah.
where the park is. That whole mountain, I think you used to own or still own a great
Actually,
deal of
I
it.
still have quite a bit of acreage on there, and we're actually finally starting to develop that. Back in '98, I believe it was, Commissioner Woodbury appointed me to the Parks and Recreation Committee. And so we laid out a lot of the larger parks that are out there now, and I realized, you know, knowing land, I realized that, you know, there's a lot of chunks of BLM land that all we had to do as a county was simply ask for the land and the BLM would give it to us. And I knew that a lot of these large chunks and parcels of land, developers are looking for those. And like the hill out at Mountain's Edge, there was an 80-acre BLM parcel there. And I thought, you know, I own land on the hill and I just love the views. And I thought, you know, what a better way to share it with the rest of the community. Let's make a park out of it. And of course, you know, the county,
Discovery Park is right.
I believe it's Exploration
Oh,
Peak.
Exploration. That's
Park.
Exploration. That's right.
Right, exactly. And
Yeah.
so, you know, I've been out in that area for years, and so I kind of showed them where, look, you could put trails up in here, you can have a nice little amphitheater right here, have your playground, and you know, and they started thinking about it, and they finally said, okay, so they identified that 88-acre parcel.
Yeah.
There was another 320 acres a little bit further south, right at Mountain's Edge Parkway and Buffalo, the southwest corner.
Yeah.
That's going to be a regional park.
Oh, awesome.
And a lot of this land is simply because we asked for it before the developers did. And so we got a lot of land for the county and for the Parks and Rec, you know, free.
No, that's great. It compliments to your vision and sharing that with the community because a lot of it just goes to propriety,
Right.
self-interest.
Yeah, it could either
and-
go condos and a few people could enjoy it, or we can let all of Las Vegas enjoy it.
And then you know, the nice thing about where you're located in the Mountain's Edge areas, like you can go straight up the Blue Diamond Road and be up in Bonnie Springs. You can go
Oh,
up to
yeah.
Blue Diamond and Red Rock Canyon, and
Oh, yeah.
and then it's not, you know, it's a straight shot over to Pahrump too. So you got rural living.
Right. We have the rural living, but we're also 10 minutes from the Strip.
Oh yeah.
And Rainbow, now that that's in, gives us access to the 215, gets us right in, Blue Diamond Road. It's almost like having our own private freeway. It's 100 lanes wide pretty much.
Yeah, I know, it sure is.
And it just gets us right into the I-15, and you can be pretty much anywhere in town. And yet when you get home at night, the RMP areas, they've waived a lot of the off-site improvements that are required in a lot of other areas. So we don't have the sidewalks, curbs and gutters. You know, it's just like living out in the country. We also don't have the requirement for the street lights.
That's very nice.
And so, you know, the individuals will have lighting around their home for security and stuff, but you also have the option of shutting it off and looking at the stars at night.
Yeah, you can
And
see the
that's
stars.
one of the things that, you know, I really enjoy, you know, living out in the RMPs is
Yeah.
you get to see stars.
Yeah, it's a beautiful thing. I know I've been out there, and the custom home that Ellen, your sister, built, you
Oh,
guys
yeah,
built together.
beautiful.
Amazing home. We may have to show a clip of that, and maybe a little clip
Oh, sure.
at the end of the show or during the show about how beautiful that particular area is. The panoramic views of the city are unparalleled. It's
Well,
probably
it's
the nicest
another-
piece.
Yeah, it's one of those things where she had her dream of what type of house she wanted, and she put a lot of hard work and effort into it, did a lot of the building herself. She did a lot of the welding of her railings. She was out there hammering,
Yeah,
you know,
yeah.
but she built her house the way she wanted to,
The
which
old-
is
yeah.
a custom home, and that's a
Yeah.
truly custom home.
Yeah, for the viewers, you know, we have like up to 250,000 people who get this, plus 35,000 hotel rooms. So there's a lot of people that might need to know and might need to tap into your experience and your vision as to, let's say somebody has always dreamed about building their custom home.
Right.
They're tired of living in the barracks or every home looks the same. They're late at night, they don't know, they might pull in the wrong driveway.
Right.
Some of the houses
Because it looks exactly like the one next to it.
Exactly. So if somebody wants to build a home, ideally for them, what are the type of factors? I mean, I know you're a research expert, so let's
Right.
suppose somebody comes to you, Dave Mason, all right, Greg Adams, I'm a realtor. I would come to you because of the trust and because of the experience and knowing where you're born and raised here.
Right.
So you're not the new guy.
Oh, yeah.
But I come to you, Dave. I want to build my dream home. Obviously, I wouldn't mind having a view and being in that area, near the parks, and
Well, first thing I'd do is try to talk you out of it.
yeah, because you want to keep it for yourself.
Well, not so much that, but it is work. I mean, you have to have a dream and you have to really want it. First, you're going to have to find your piece of property that you want. Then you're going to have to do your house plans, get your engineer, and get everything in line.
Okay.
One of the main things, you know, you got to start off with the land. You know, the land, you know, beneath everything is the land. And you also want to find out what type of neighborhood you want. You know, a lot of people, they want to have the, you know, guard gated entrance. They want to have the security that affords. And there's a lot of nice custom home areas to where you can buy a half acre that already has all the utilities and everything into it. And, you know, the prices range through the whole gamut. It all depends on what you're looking for. Other people, they'd rather have a larger piece of property, maybe a little less expensive than something in a guard-gated community. They may want to have their own, you know, shop in the backyard to do their hobbies, you know, things like that.
Yeah, horse arenas.
Horse arenas, they may want to have livestock, you know, whatever.
Yeah.
And, you know, that's why each individual piece is individual. That's why it's a custom.
So let's say that you have some type of formula or some type of checklist that you use. Let's say we identify a piece and we would like to have a custom or semi-custom home, and we find an area there where we can have horses or whatnot. What type of things? Soil reports, zoning, we got
Exactly.
airplanes.
You want to find out where the utilities are, because you're going to have your home, but you want to have running water. You want to have your water, your power, your sewer. If your water is not close by, you can drill a well. You know, if your sewer is not close by, you can put in a septic or leach field. You know, at first, you know, when I first moved out there, it's like, oh gosh, a septic. You know, what am I going to do?
Yeah.
Haven't had to touch it in 10 years. You know, it's in. I don't have a sanitation bill. You know, and every few months you just put in some Rid-X and it does its thing. And you know,
You have
it's
a little leach
basically
field, and you might put it like 100
Exactly.
feet from the, 75 feet from the.
well, you have to have your leach field. I believe it's about 20 feet from the house.
Okay.
And then you also have to make sure that you don't have trees close by. You don't want the
Okay.
roots going in
Sure.
to disturb your leach field. But it's pretty much a closed system, and you would never know otherwise if
Yeah.
you had that or not.
Yeah, I have a rural property out there by the M Casino, and
Oh, yeah.
actually went down. They filed where they put it in, because it's just like anything else. You have to have permits. You can't just start building. And you got to
Right.
get the okays from the county. And what about jurisdiction? Certain
Right,
North
there's-
Vegas, Henderson, they have different requirements, different
Exactly.
rules.
Well, actually, most when you get into the sanitation stuff, that's all under the health district. You go down to Shadow Lane to the well, actually, it used to be Shadow Lane. Now they're currently located over across from the Meadows Mall, I believe. And they have, like you say, they have where where the septic tank was installed back years ago. You know, this is if you're buying an already existing thing.
Oh yeah.
Usually, they're not in the right place. Back years ago, I think they would just draw on a napkin, I think it's right about here. And things would change over the years. A lot of times you have to go out there as a realtor. I go out there with a metal detector, because one thing they all have in common, they have a little metal rebar lid that when you do need to pump the tank or something like that,
inspect it,
or inspect it, whenever you have a sale, usually you'll have a septic inspection. And you go down to the health district, they give you the little map showing where it's supposed to be, and then judging from that map, you go out and you try to find it. And I found the best way is with a metal detector. You find that little rebar lid, you got to dig on down.
That's a smart idea.
Oh yeah. And then once you find that, you pop the lid, and the health inspector comes on out, and they have a very scientific way of checking to make sure it's working properly. They look around for the nearest rock and they toss it in. If it goes splash, you pass, and if it goes thump, you fail.
Oh, okay, that's the test.
That's pretty much it.
Yeah, those are the kind of details you just don't learn in a book. That's the kind of thing, viewers, that you need to contact Dave, experienced realtor, that can help you with these things. So let's say, what about soil? Clay soil, we talked before the cameras were rolling a little bit
exactly.
about
There's what's known as expansive soils, and there's a lot of expansive soils in the Las Vegas Valley. And what that means is when it rains, the water hits the dirt and it expands. And if you have your foundation, your concrete slab on top of this soil that's expanding, that's where you get your cracks. And that's not to say you can't build there. Usually what your soils report will say is that you have to take out some of the existing soil that will expand, and you replace it with some good dirt that won't. And that's where you get your pad certification that says, okay, it's now a good spot to where your house will be safe.
Okay. And how do, we're talking about flood zones, flood plains, and then, your lot, how the elevation of the lot is.
Correct.
That all influences. I know several areas of town, like there's certain things that we looked at, some of the golf courses in the east side of Sahara.
Winterwood.
Yeah. And if you see your neighbor building a ark, that might be a good time to think twice.
Think twice. Either he's crazy or he's right.
Yeah.
Either way, you got to be careful. What happens is, as the rain falls in the Las Vegas Valley, anything that falls up in the mountains can come on down. And as it accumulates over the whole valley, if you are in a little wash area, that's a flood channel. That's where all the water goes to. And there are maps that the county has, flood control maps, and that'll tell you if you're in a flood zone or not. Yeah. And if you are, it'll let you know what the flood zone elevation is, how high you have to build your house up so that it won't get flooded, and also what type of things you have to do to mediate the flooding.
Okay. And obviously you need flood insurance if you are in an area where there is a floodplain and hasn't been mitigated by one of the Army Corps of Engineers or all over the basin. It would seem like we have...
they spent millions of dollars over the past 20 years, and the majority of the washes are actually taken care of now. There's actually very few of the outlying areas that are still, unmitigated.
And years ago, I remember we were talking a little bit about this. One of the guys when I was at Tropicana Realty back in the 70s, and you are one of the guys that understand the market because, like myself, have 35 plus years of full-time experience.
You see the ups and downs.
Yeah, we had guys driving out there in Boulder Highway by the Silver Bowl, and they're saying there's going to be casinos out here, there's going to be a lake, $1 million homes, and we're like, yeah, right. Well, guess what? Lake Las Vegas, some crazy guy's vision. So I think vision and imagination are one of the things that a lot of people overlook. I mean, we can look at statistics, we can look at overlays, we can look at zonings, offsite improvements. What's it going to cost to actually build your home? Do you have to put the sewer? How far is the water? What if you bought a house and it's got water, which is great, but now city water just came? Well, I think if you have a lot, you have to tie into it.
Exactly.
So that's an expense.
Well, actually, they have it where they've helped to where it kind of gets mitigated. The Southern Nevada Water District, they have a program. You pay them, I want to say it's like $25 a year. It's very minimal. And what that does is they put that into the pool. And because what they're doing is they're basically pumping out all the water from the ground in a lot of areas, and they're replacing it with the water they get from Lake Mead. So they're basically recharging the system. And what this does is they do bring the water right by your home. If your well goes out, or you have to drill your well deeper, and the water lines are close to your house, you can no longer drill deeper. They will make you tie in, but they will also take care of a lot of that cost for you.
Okay. What are grandfather clauses when it comes to the water?
Well, there really aren't so much grandfather clauses. There are water rights that you can buy. It's a very small market. Typically right now the water rights, they come in what's known as an acre foot. An acre foot of water is the amount of water it would take to flood an acre to the depth of 1 foot. And that's roughly 328,000 gallons, I believe. Comes out to about 1,000 gallons a day is what you're allotted with 1 acre foot of water rights. And now these are water rights that were issued by the state of Nevada prior to 1955. And they stopped issuing them at that point. They figured, okay, we've issued as much water as the state actually has. And so if you're looking to own your own water, that's one way to do it. Also, if you're looking to subdivide, because there are rules against subdividing, you can subdivide down to a 1 acre parcel, because it takes 1 acre for you to have enough room to drill your well and still be far enough away from the other wells so that you don't basically suck all the water out from the ground. Now, if you wanted to subdivide into half-acre lots, say you're in an area like an RMP that's zoned for half-acre lots, you can put in, and there's no city water there, you can buy 2 acre feet of water rights. That way each home has their own acre foot of water, and that's roughly enough. They consider that to be enough water for a family of 4.
So like we were driving earlier, we were looking at some land off of South Rainbow and Blue Diamond over there by Gomer, and that's a great area. There was a parcel I think you're putting on the market for, what's it, 260?
Actually, I talked to him. I believe it'll probably be on the market at 245.
And that's a 2.5 acre piece?
2.5 acre parcel. And what they were looking to do is they waited till the BLM auction, which was this morning, and there were some parcels in the area, and most of them went for right about between 230 and 260,000 for a 2.5 acre parcel.
So it's competitively priced.
Oh yeah, it's right in there.
And now, as far as salt water, let's take the example you just mentioned. Somebody, 2.5 acres, so they could put a community well in, and
they could put a community well in. The water lines, there's actually the main water line that goes to Mountain's Edge, a big old 48-inch line that goes right on down Tenaya there. And when they put that in, knowing to look ahead, we asked them to put in an 8-inch stub coming off of that. Because when you have a 48-inch line, that's a lot of water. And
pressure.
You don't want to just kind of put a hole into it and try and tap in. But with a little 8-inch stub, then that's a spot you can tie into, and that's 330 feet away.
Well, that's a beautiful thing. It's nice that you're looking out for your own neighborhood and looking out for your client's interest as well.
You have to look ahead, otherwise you're looking behind. Oh
yeah, that's right. And what's going on with the zoning and stuff? I mean, obviously people want to buy a property if they want to use it for a custom home or dream home. We talked about the RMP, the Rural Preservation Area, where you can keep your outdoor country living and without having to worry about a high-rise going next to you, or commercial development or apartments and so on. What other zoning factors come into mind when people are obviously horse owned? A lot of the older properties we know are horse owned, but what type of zonings? Are there variances, and can you explain what a variance is?
Well, variances are, the county has their certain rules and regulations. A variance basically says that we're looking to change things just a little from this. A variance would be, say, if you have wild animals in your backyard, and you want to have instead of having your normal 6-foot high wall, you want to have a 10-foot high wall. That would be a variance. You make an application to the county, and then they ask the neighbors, and that way the neighbors have an opportunity to step forward and say, no, we don't think we really want that in our neighborhood. And a variance could be anything. It could be a setback. Say you want to be right up next to your back wall,
your property line.
And your property line, exactly. Well, if your neighbor doesn't mind, that would be fine. But you have to apply for the variance. That way your neighbor gets notified, and they get an opportunity to say, no, literally not in my backyard.
Let's suppose somebody gets a little notice from the Clark County zoning map, and there's an application. They may not understand it. Maybe it has what they call an assessor's parcel map. You're familiar with those more than most of us.
Oh, yeah.
And that identifies the actual property and the assessed values. And so what do they, like, let's say a homeowner gets a notice. How many, what is it, like a half a mile or 1,500 feet proximity of the property
It's
that's
either
affected?
500 or 1,000 feet that they notify.
So if you live within that period,
Correct.
that close proximity of the property that's trying to get a variance,
Yep.
you'll get notified.
notified.
You can go attend a zoning meeting or a variance.
Right. Usually it goes before the town board first, and the town boards are designed to be more the neighborhood. Instead of going directly to the county commission or the planning commission, first you got to go before your neighbors, and that's what the town boards are all about. It's a little less formal than the county or planning commission meetings, and they figure as long as you can get it by your neighbors, that lets the planners and the county commissioners know, how people feel about it.
Yeah, it keeps the harmony. That's great. For a lot of us that don't, follow land and track it like you do, I know that you stay abreast of the zoning hearings, you stay in touch with the websites for the county, you know when there's a zoning meeting, how it's going to affect other properties. So people who have already bought property from you might be smart to continue to stay in touch with you.
Oh,
and
yeah. You
keep
always
them
wanna-
notified.
You want to always stay on top of that. And also, the clients that I have, if I sold them something and I see something going in next to them, I'll always give them a call and say, hey, I just noticed this is coming up. You may want to attend the meeting and find out exactly what's going on.
Yeah, the type of things like we saw the Beltway going around. We saw Steve Wynn putting his golf course way out there, and then people started off, and like today you said, people at the BLM, if there's somebody coming in and buying up a lot of property, the people want to buy the little pieces next to it, because they know that the big developer who's ever going to go in there and build a golf course or develop a freeway is going to add value to their property automatically.
Well, that's it, and that's where the investors come in. That's because real estate, land is an excellent way to invest. That's why you have to stay on top of not what is happening, but what's going to happen. It's like when the Beltway was coming in. There was originally, I believe, 5 potential routes that the Beltway was going to go.
That's right.
And if you laid them out on the map and saw where all the private parcels were, where all the BLM parcels were, it really wasn't rocket science to figure out, well, if they go this way, they have to buy 20 parcels. If they go this way, they only have to buy 5 parcels. I bet they're going to go this way.
Yeah, because it comes down to dollars and cents at the end of the day.
Well, it's our dollars and cents. It's
That's
taxpayer money that has to go to buy it.
That's right. We've got about a minute left, and I just want to say, if our viewers are interested in land, and you want to know what your property's worth or what maybe the property next door sold, is there an email or a contact number?
Oh, sure.
That's best for
You can shoot me an email, wdavidmason@aol.com. Yes, I'm old. Or you can just give me a call. I've always got my phone, 702-355-5999, which is free, 555-999.
Good. And I know he answers his phone because I've called him, and he picks up his phone. Dave Mason, been a pleasure having you on, and I hope we can have you again soon.
It's been a lot of fun.
Yeah, thank you for being here and helping our community grow.
Excellent.
Thanks for being with us today, viewers. We appreciate your sharing with us. Every week we're here to answer questions and to bring the latest news to our Las Vegas community. We'll see you every Tuesday at 9:30 a.m. and 5 p.m. And thanks for being with us.